I was a theater major, so I'll never forget, sometimes when people talk about finals, I always remember one of my finals was a juggling final. Like, so some people are out here writing thesis papers. I was juggling.
Yeah.
Wondering, should I start with behind the back or through the leg?
I love it. I'm here at the Midwest Legends podcast with the one and only Andrea Boehlke.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. I know you're working us in. I appreciate it. It's an honor to have you. You've been to New York. You've interviewed A-list celebrities. You've been on Survivor 3 times. You are a host of the Cabin podcast. You a correspondent for TMJ4. There's all these things that you just keep doing. So we're very, very excited to have you on. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll get into it. I'm going to ask you some questions about your time in Stevens Point, your time on the farm, your time in New York, and of course your time on the Survivor show. So
yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do you remember, though, that when we were out last time, I saw you, we made a deal?
What's the deal? No, I didn't know this deal.
We were out.
Oh, gosh.
No, we were out drinking with Richie and Bree.
I do remember that.
I was kind of buzzed, and I had this idea. Well, I was feeling so moved by, we were drinking across from a cemetery.
Yeah.
And I had this idea, what if we all bought a cemetery plot next to each other?
Oh, dude, do
you remember that?
I do remember this now.
And it was very funny at the time.
That was a crazy cemetery too, because isn't it kind of it's got that, it's got something in the, on the entrance. Isn't it like an old building?
Yeah. And it's
very cool.
very beautiful and eerie.
Yes.
At the time when I was buzzed, I thought it was the coolest idea ever and very funny. What if we got drunk and ordered cemetery plots next to each other? And now as I say it, I'm like, okay, that wasn't that funny.
At the time though, the vibes were right. It did seem like a good idea.
What if we were all buried next to each other? Wouldn't that be so crazy?
It did sound pretty fun. And we were having a good time. And then we also went, and I think we had to go check on Richie and Bree's dogs. And then we were went to Wolski's.
Yeah.
I forgot about the cemetery deal.
Yeah,
So
not to start out your podcast talking about cemeteries, but that was the last time I saw you. It was very funny. Had to be there.
Yes, you did. I think was that after, maybe it wasn't after a Brewer game, was it? Was that after a Brewer game?
Oh, yes it was. Yep.
Because we were up on, was that Blue Mound?
Yep.
Yeah, that Blue Mound was a pretty fun place, but that's the last time. That's been a while though. Mm-hmm. And I was making deals about cemetery plots apparently. First and foremost, you're from Wisconsin. You're born on a farm. You worked on the farm. And also, can you give me a little bit of background on the farm? Because it sounds like it was a rather big farm, and then there was a variety of animals, so. Yeah,
I grew up on a huge working farm. So, and it's nothing against, obviously, a lot of people have hobby farms,
sure.
But this was about, 1,500, 2,000 acre farm near Random Lake, Wisconsin. Have you been to Random Lake?
Well, I haven't been to Random Lake, but I did live in Sheboygan for a while, not so far away.
Yeah, not so far away. And just from my earliest memories, we were always working on the farm. So as a kid, I remember, holding little wild rabbits that my dad found, or, my dad would go hunting and we'd go with him. And then in, school, we would do the chores. We would do our farm chores before we went to school. And then from a very young age, I was also showing horses and steers and pigs at the county fair. So it was work all the time. I mean, our idea of fun or hanging out with our friends was actually just working on the farm with our cousins.
Right.
Our parents would just disguise it as fun. Today we're going to stack hay in the hay mow. And then we'd think it was fun because there's maybe music going.
Right.
Afterwards, we'd jump in the pond.
Yeah.
And so as a kid, you don't really know the difference. Sure, you're lifting some bales, but you're actually kind of having a blast with all your cousins.
Yeah. Do you miss that ever?
Not really. No, I love the farm, but at this point, I don't know. It's a lot of work. I mean, my dad, from the minute he wakes up till he goes to sleep, he's working. He's a full-time farmer.
Yeah.
So it's someday maybe I'll have some sheep or a horse or something, but I don't think I need to do a full-out farm.
Well, I think you were talking just earlier when you got here about just the schedule you have and all the things that you cram in a day. And I think that's probably a little bit to the farmer in you. My family, I didn't grow up on a farm, but my dad grew up on a farm, and my grandpa on a farm, all that, my uncles, some of my uncles and cousins still run farms. And, it's the hardest working people you ever meet come from a farm.
Yeah, I think from an early age, it was instilled in me that you must be working at all times.
Yeah.
And I fear I've carried that with me too late, where I think there also is some beauty in learning how to relax and rejuvenate yourself. So I'm very happy that I had that work ethic instilled in me, but man, I can't sit still.
Well, and I can tell you this, my dad, who's like 70 plus right now, he still can't sit still. And I think it's the farmer in him. I'm just like, dude, just relax and, enjoy it. He can a little bit, but it's very, very difficult for him. So
yeah, I never know. I'm always thinking, is this the farm girl in me or ADHD?
Who knows, right?
I'm like always having to do so many things at once, or feeling guilty about watching a show. Feeling guilty about sitting still or something.
You already are self-aware that you need to take some time and be present. So, I think your age is beyond where he is. You got a long time. You're very young compared to him and me too. So so there's like so much to go over. We only have so much time. So, but I think the cool part is, or I was getting at is, so you're from this small farm. I mean, you're from a farm in a small town. And then obviously there's the Survivor shows in the series, but the fact that you also have been, interviewing people on the red carpet, and you worked for People magazine. I mean, it's just kind of amazing to do all those things and then come back, right?
Yeah. I don't think growing up I ever thought I would kind of take that career path.
Yeah.
It is wild to think of growing up on a farm in Wisconsin, no connections to really celebrities or acting or anything in the media. And then just a series of events that kind of led to a really bustling career in entertainment. And then at one point I was going out to LA to interview celebrities on the red carpet. I went to the Emmys, the Oscars, the Grammys, interviewed people like Robert De Niro and Brad Pitt and J-Lo, and doing all that. And then making this full circle back to the farm.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. So I was in New York for about 10 years, and then COVID happened, and quite honestly, my mental health was in a really bad place. Yeah. And so I decided, what if I just kind of come back home? And what if I quit my job at People and just try to start over? Because I was down bad.
Yeah.
About 2020 to 2022.
Okay.
Just down bad. So I quit my job.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, miss that paycheck. But I quit. I wanted to stay in Wisconsin. But when I was in Wisconsin, I didn't have any connections because I was in New York for 10 years.
Yeah.
So all my connections were in New York. I didn't know if I could have a TV career or a media career out here. So I started working on the farm again.
Yeah.
Well into my 30s, I'm back on the farm, taking orders from my dad. And I'll never forget one time I was in this little kind of a shed we have, and it was in the winter, so I was all bundled up, and I was legitimately scraping rat poop off the floor. And I had this moment where I thought, oh, how the mighty have fallen. I used to interview Robert De Niro. But again, I love my dad and I love farmers more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
So it isn't so much of like, oh, look what I'm doing now, because I think that farm work is some of the most respectable work around. But it was funny being like, wow, I'm back at the farm.
Right. And credit to you to be humble enough to go back and do that after you'd been, like you said, interviewing Robert De Niro. I think you said, I've heard you've interviewed Brad Pitt. I mean, it's all these people, but you're willing to go back to the farm and do what needs to be done.
It's the most cliche thing. Everyone says it, but money doesn't buy happiness. And obviously some money helps to get by for sure. But I think at some point, the year that I made the most money, the year that I interviewed the biggest celebrities, the year that I had the highest profile, I was miserable. Yeah. And so now I'm so much happier than I was. So yeah, at this point, you couldn't really offer me a New York or LA gig. Like, I'm staying in Wisconsin and I love my schedule. I do need to relax and rest sometimes. As I came in through your door being like, oh, I've been to Madison, and I was like a full day. But yeah, I think it was cool to learn that. And I think a lot of people learn that at some point.
Yeah.
You keep chasing, and the key to happiness for yourself might just be right in front of you.
Well, and sometimes it takes going and doing that, though. And then you are self-aware to realize, right, I'm not happy anymore, and maybe I need to go back to the farm and reset myself. And yeah, you're scraping rat poop or whatever you're doing, but it was an opportunity to reflect and find out what do you really want to do. And then you have those experience and stories of doing that. Because I think the one problem is when you do stay where you're put, even if you're happy, you don't, you always the what if. And so when you go out and do it a little bit and you can feel it, and then you're like, okay, I did like that, it worked, but I'm happier where I am, back home.
Exactly. Right? I got to experience the what ifs and I realized, okay, that was so cool, but I don't really need it. It's not that sustainable.
Sure.
So have you experienced the what ifs?
I unfortunately just go with things. I saw one time, I think it was my dad was telling, I don't know if he was telling a friend or it might have been a girlfriend or maybe a wife, I don't know, but he said, Russ just gets stuff in his head and he just goes with it. And I've always kind of been that way, for better or for worse. So I've done a lot of stuff, but sometimes, like even lately, I've been thinking to myself, all right, sometimes you get like, how many different things can you do? Maybe the same thing you're thinking about. And so that's where I'm at now. And I'm trying to get people in my life that are very helpful, that can help me execute the things that we are doing, but then also be like, hey, like that's a good idea, but let's be realistic about that. So, so hopefully you get some people like that. I'm getting more people and that are supportive of my ideas, but also are like, okay, how are we going to make, like, that's a good idea, but how do we make that work and how do you like actually live? So,
yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But one of the cool things I thought that we have in common is we both went to Stevens Point. So I went to Point.
Oh, I didn't know you went to Point.
I know.
Oh, fun. Wait, what did you go for?
So I went originally, which is such a nerdy thing, but because I wasn't even planning on going to high school. Going to college, and I ended up going to Point. It's like a long story. I just picked a school. It was really weird and went there. And I'm like, I like history. So I went there to do a history major, right? And then I started doing history classes. I'm like, I like history, but not that much, right? There's how school is like, it's a little too much detail. So then I ended up adding political science and kind of getting interested in the law and got involved in things that way. But also I thought, what if this law thing doesn't work out? So then I got like a business administration major. So I ended up being there for 5 years because I added the business major and had to go do some classes in GB because I'm from Green Bay, or I lived most of my life in Green Bay. So that's kind of, and then I went to law school. It worked out.
Have you been back to Stevens Point since you graduated?
Not really. I think I've been there going through, like, I'll actually be in Stevens Point tomorrow because I have depositions tomorrow on a case, which is weird, but that's, I don't know. Life's weird like that, right?
Yeah. One second you're here in Milwaukee doing a podcast talking about rat poop, and then the next day, back to law.
That's right. In Stevens Point.
Yeah.
So it's been just really in passing. I know... So obviously, there's like the square down there and, all the fun places to hang out. So
it's just, I'm sure people that went to college can relate. Oh, going back, I don't like it. It makes me feel so old.
Well,
and I am. It has been a long time, 15 years since I was in college. But the first time I drove by my old house, just, it makes me so sad. Well, I don't like being nostalgic. I feel like some people, when they're nostalgic, it brings them joy.
Yeah.
And like a warm, fuzzy feeling. To me, it makes me feel sad. So when I have to go to Point, I always am like a little sad.
I do think for me, and maybe this was the same for you, Point was the right place at the right time for me. And I met a lot of people, and it was kind of a person like myself who hadn't really been out of Wisconsin. There's international students there. I got involved in all this thing. I went from not very studious in high school to like a person much more focused, but I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
And I think that school was a good way to like learn and explore, but like it's a smaller town. It's a little safer for people that, could get in trouble like myself. And, so when I go back, though I've been passing through, and like you said, I've looked at one of my old college houses, and it's like, it looks different than what, the memories and everything are there. But I was thinking about this with a friend the other day. If you could go back to college for a while, would you do it? And I just don't know that it would be what we remember it as, right?
If I went back with all the knowledge I had now, then of course I would go back in life and relive it now with this brain.
Sure, yeah.
But you can't do that.
No.
So I wouldn't trade, like, would I trade right now in my life to then? No, not. Because, you go through a lot in college and...
Do.
Yeah. But, I had a great time. I loved Point. It was so fun.
I was going to ask, do you have a favorite memory from Point, or is it in...
Well, so I was in the theater program.
Yeah.
And so being in that program was really intense. I don't know if it was, like, right when I started it, I just didn't know if it was the right fit. So then I was going to try to double major in communication and maybe do more like TV hosting. Ultimately, it worked out because I ended up pivoting a little bit more to TV hosting. But I still do acting. I've been on a few TV shows. But I mean, I'll never forget our theater parties. They were always themed. And just the theater parties were kind of crazy.
Were they?
We would dress up as like, I don't know, like Victorian era, like big wigs.
Right.
We would just do like crazy stuff. And although I do think I got a good education, I was a theater major. So I'll never forget, sometimes when people talk about finals, I always remember one of my finals was a juggling final. Like, so some people are out here writing thesis papers. I was juggling. Wondering, should I start with behind the back or through the leg?
I love it.
It all worked out for my life because I ended up working in media. So having a theater background is great, but it is funny when you look and think about like what I was doing in college.
Well, and I think the other really interesting thing for you in college is obviously you went off to Survivor in college. And I don't think many people have had that experience, right? I mean, there's some, but at Point, maybe you're the only person that I would ever know of, or in the history of Point and since then.
I mean, I auditioned for Survivor when I was still in school. I was a junior. It was the winter break, and I didn't get into this play I wanted to get into. So I was super bummed. And then my mom said, "Oh, why don't you try out for Survivor?" And we watched the show. So I was aware of it, and my mom and dad had both auditioned.
Really?
And sent in tapes, And so I made an audition tape and really leaned into Farm Girl. I mean, I was riding my horse. I was in my bikini in the snow.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do.
You gotta differentiate yourself.
So I made this audition tape. My sister filmed it on an old camcorder.
Like the big video.
Yep. And then filmed it all in one take. And we actually sent it off in person. We went to the post office. It was maybe the last year they accepted DVDs. So we sent it on a DVD out to casting. And then I got on the show and, filmed it that summer, took off part of my senior year, which was hard, especially if you're in a theater program. If you're in any program, you can't just take off. So we made up a story of why I was gone. And then when I came back, and then it aired my senior year, my final semester. So that was wild because no one, it's very rare someone from Wisconsin, especially a small town or city like Stevens Point, is on a TV show. And so I couldn't go anywhere without people going, "That's the Survivor girl." And that was my first time. I mean, now, I've been doing TV ever since. So it's not unusual to get people to stop me out and about. But when I was 21, out at the bars, and everyone's like, "That's the Survivor girl," or drunk guys going, "I don't even care that you're on Survivor." I'd be like, "Okay, I don't care that you don't care." Like, what?
Yes. Did you end up getting free drinks because of that or not?
Okay.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like also if you're a girl in college at Stevens Point, you're always getting free drinks.
Fair point.
But Survivor helps.
Well, and I suppose because when you left for Survivor, in your contract and things like that, you weren't allowed to tell people you were doing Survivor, right?
No, because you'll get kicked off, and they took that really seriously.
So it was such a mystery, and then all of a sudden it probably was like live bam, and right?
Yeah, I was really worried that I was going to get in trouble because, I don't know, it's not really right to lie to the dean. But, man, my mom and we came up with this. We said I was going on a mission trip. Because we couldn't think of anything else that would get me to be able to take off.
Right.
And so I thought when the news broke I was on Survivor, I was going to be in big trouble. But everyone thought it was so cool. And so everyone embraced me. I started doing, emceeing events at college. I was cool. Like, everyone loves it. But the one thing that wasn't good is when I got back, and I had lost a lot of weight on my first season. I mean, I was out, in 37 days in Nicaragua, and I lost like 15 pounds. And I don't, I'm small.
Yeah, you're already small.
Yeah. So I was really thin. I looked kind of sick. And people kept coming up to me saying, "Oh, I want to hear about the mission trip." I felt really bad.
Did you have to make up stories, or just kind of like?
I just kind of I kept kicking the can down the road.
Smart. Very smart. Yeah.
Oh, can't wait to tell you about it. Oh, I got to go to class.
Sorry. I'd love to tell. Oh, we got to go.
Yeah. But, I mean, to our credit, that was a time where if it got out, you were on the show, and there was a lot of blogs going on at that time, you would be kicked off.
Yeah.
So CBS you had to sign an NDA.
Yeah, I mean, and you at that point too, you put the effort in being. You just got to do what you got to do, and I think it sounds like the people at Point and probably the faculty were kind of proud of the fact
They loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a very cool story, you know. So you not only were at Point, but you came from Wisconsin too. It's so very cool. And then, so something I was going to ask you, it's a weird question, but do you feel like you're growing up in Wisconsin, specifically like on a farm, did that help you when you're out there like surviving, you know, competing?
Yes, for sure. I mean, growing up on a farm, especially the way that my parents raised me, is they raised us to be really tough.
Yeah.
And if you're freezing, you can't come inside. You have to do work all day, you know, in the winter. Or we're going hunting and you have to be outside for the whole day.
Right.
Camping. We just were kind of raised to be really tough. So being out there on Survivor, I could kind of, you know, I could just remember the farm days,
right?
You know, I mean, nothing's as bad as the farm days, but Survivor still was a really hard experience. Sure. But I felt like that did give me an edge because I knew how to kind of be outdoors and live a rugged life, and maybe not, you know, on days that you're working on the farm, you don't really get lunch breaks sometimes. Sure. So I think I was able to push myself more because I grew up in that way.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the nice part is maybe they did push you further than you would have on the farm, but you had that baseline of like dealing with it. And and then clearly you were able not only to go through one season, but then you went through two more. So you put yourself back into that position to like, you know, to compete. And I guess I would say be put through the diet and everything else, right? I mean, the sleeping and stuff that, not easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was 21, 23, and 27. So that was about 10 years ago. My third season. I'm 36 now. So now I think it would be a different story. Because now if I don't get sleep, it's over. you know?
Well, that's true as you get older. And I think it's partially your body like needs more sleep, but you become more aware like what happens without the sleep. And then on top of it, you know, we get like you're conscious about your sleep and your health, and when you're younger, you just kind of like, whatever.
So bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing I would go back to.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just, you know, oh my gosh, the world's my oyster, instead of being jaded.
Yeah, right. You know, you're waking up with optimism and energy and just like ready to go, even though you're facing probably some very difficult days when you're there. And knowing there's gonna be challenges, and that when you go through three seasons, did you like change your strategy? Like, so, hey, I come back to the second one and feel like from the first one, I'm going to do this different.
Yeah, I think my first season, for people that, you know, actually did watch, I played a really safe game. So, I mean, I don't know how much you know about Survivor, but it's a game of manipulation and there's physical challenges, but a lot of it is creating alliances.
Yeah.
And then backstabbing those alliances. So there's a guy that came back onto my first season, and it was his fourth time playing.
Yeah.
He was an all-star, and it was all of our first times playing. So we all were just so excited to be there. Wow, we're on Survivor. Ooh, we're making a shelter. Oh, we're gonna make fire. Like, we just were so swept up in like, we're on national TV. This is crazy. There's Jeff Probst. And so this guy, his name is Boston Rob, he just ran away with it, and he ended up winning the show. Spoiler alert. But I mean, that was 16 years ago.
Right.
But we all were called Rob Zombies. And so I remember they would call me the smartest of the Rob Zombies because at one point I tried to go against him.
Sure.
But anyway, we just all felt like losers. So I got the chance to play again, which was so nice because after a season where you look like you're an idiot, even though it's so easy to look dumb on Survivor because you don't really know what's going on, I got to play again. So then I probably came out playing too hard.
Sure.
So then I was like, let's blindside everybody. Like I was like blindsiding my allies.
Yeah.
It was too much. So then my third season, I'm like, all right, let's find the middle. Yeah. And I was in a pretty good position my third season, but the game it's interesting because people are always going to look for a reason to not get voted out. So they're going to say, oh, Russell's really good at the challenges. And once your name's out there, then every time someone's using you as the scapegoat. So I kind of became a scapegoat where I was really good at the challenges, probably thanks to my farm background.
Right.
Like I had good balance and like, you know, dig deep, or I just was, I don't know. I think growing up on a farm, you learn how to be agile. You know, you're like always climbing fences and riding horses.
For sure.
So I think that all helped. So I was very good at the challenges. And a lot of them are like Wisconsin, like backyard games. Like you may as well have a cornhole match out there. Like everything's like throwing something off and knocking it off.
Yeah.
But people always noted that I was good at the challenges, so I kind of became like the target for a lot of it.
There's the survivor, and then and then in itself, that's like a cool story, and that could be, you could go into a lot of that. But also what I think is really cool, and I know, had bad and good experience, but moving out to New York and the experiences that you had of interviewing people, at the CMAs, the Emmys, all of that, it's like, all of that is so crazy, right? I mean, because in Wisconsin, like you would point out too, at being at Point, we don't see a ton of celebrities. I mean, things are a little bit different now with social media, and you feel a little bit, and social media can amplify a lot of people that are from just local areas unlike used to. But the fact that you were out interviewing people, and I wanted to pick your brain, who is your favorite star? What that you interviewed?
That's tough because there's like favorite stars or like who was the nicest, and then the people I was actually a little starstruck by.
How about who you're starstruck by?
Because this is the thing, I quickly I just became someone who wasn't super starstruck by people. I dated this actor right out when I was like 23. And so when I would visit him in LA, we would be going to the clubs and stuff, and all of a sudden I'd see Miley and Liam. It was when Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth were together. And I was right next to Aaron Paul at Lollapalooza. So really quickly I learned, if I'm gonna be dating this actor, I gotta be cool. I can't be asking for pictures. Right. And one time, I won't go into the whole story of it, but I did meet Aaron Rodgers, and I asked for a picture, and he rejected me.
So I heard this story. I think maybe we should just get the little detail. I don't know if you know Matt Ramage at all.
Oh, yeah.
So Matt has a story about Aaron Rodgers.
Is it a good one or a bad one?
Well, it's kind of like Matt brought it on himself, but it was also kind of similar to your story, but a different way. Matt was picked to be a celebrity umpire at the softball game.
Yeah.
Matt gets a little starstruck because he sees Aaron Rodgers, and instead of like remembering that he's supposed to be calling outs, he just like doesn't. And then they're just like, "What's your call?" And he says out, and then Aaron Rodgers just lays into him.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, that's way worse than mine.
I know, and so because then like he was out there and everybody was watching him, and I told him we should get the footage to find out what really happened, but it sounds like it was probably the wrong call. And then, so people later were like, "Hey, what happened with that call, man? Like, what did you just kind of blew it out there?" And so but he did say somebody, I don't know if it was Devontae Adams or someone came up to him and said, like, "Don't worry about it. It's just a game, and Aaron just gets super competitive, and he'll forget about it tomorrow."
That's why I think some of my early experiences with celebrities, like an Aaron Rodgers, shaped how I dealt with celebrities then in my career. But basically, and I don't want to say, you know what, he's probably having a bad day. But I was only like 22, 23, and I was starting to see all these celebrities out and about, but I never asked for pictures. And also I would tell my parents, I saw, so-and-so. And they go, who? Like they didn't know anybody. I was at this celebrity VIP Kentucky Derby party. Not a huge party at all. And I saw Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom and dad will think I'm so cool. I'm just a girl trying to impress my parents. And he had been taking pictures with people. And so I went over, I looked at my boyfriend at the time and some friends, and I said, "Do you think I just could go get a quick picture? Would that be lame?" And they're like, "No, just go do it." He was just taking pictures. So I go up to him, and he's looking at his program, and he's reading his Kentucky Derby program, and he's just staring at it with a cigar in his mouth. And so I kind of meekly come up to him and go, "Hey, could I bother you for a quick picture?" And me at 22, 23, I was so a little more shy and probably very starstruck. And he goes, "Just a minute." And he stands there looking at his program and makes me wait for what felt like a minute. I would do it right now on the podcast and make us all wait for a minute, but then people are going to get bored.
A minute of silence is a long time.
He never looked at me. I'm standing there for what felt like an actual minute. Everyone do it. It's the most awkward thing ever.
Right.
And then his security guard comes over and says, "We're not doing pictures right now." And so I walk away and I start crying. I just was so humiliated. And I just, at the time, was like, why couldn't you just have said, "Hey," even if he said, "Hey, sorry, I'm done with pictures." I'm like, "Oh, all good, like go pack." So that was a really humbling and just really embarrassing moment. And I learned very quickly after that, I just am never going to go up to a celebrity again and ask for a picture.
Well, the hard part too is you were kind of reluctant to do it anyway, and you asked everybody, and they're probably like, "Oh, no big deal." It would have been interesting if you would have gotten in. I'm from Wisconsin. Maybe that would have made a difference.
That was
maybe
kind of
not.
yeah. That was like my plan. I was gonna when he looked at me, I was gonna say, "I'm from Wisconsin."
Right.
Da, da, da.
But he never looked up.
No, he never looked. And this is the thing. I still rooted for him and the Packers afterwards. I don't really hold it against him. It was a bummer. And I have heard other stories, but I just try to, whatever.
Like you said, you never know. People are going, and maybe somebody before said something to him, or maybe whatever, right? We'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I do think one thing is like, because people probably come up to you and know you, and it's like you try to remember, hopefully, that scenario, right? Like, even if you can't do it, like, hey, I'm really sorry, thanks for coming up to me, but I have to go or something, rather than,
Well,
leave you in silence for a minute.
Well, that's almost like more work.
Yeah, I know. Because if you would have just said, "Oh, hey, I'm doing something. I'm done with pictures," you would have been like, "Oh, thanks. No problem. Nice to meet you," and walked away.
Exactly. So whatever. But I'm saying I don't care. I'm bringing it up on a podcast 15 years later.
Yeah.
But it just stuck with me. It always will stick with me because even on my worst day, I still would look at somebody and say, I think I would always say something to them. But, what I try to remember too, sometimes when I go to these survivor parties,
Sure.
I walk into a survivor party, and
Everybody wants to meet you.
well, you're basically J-Lo,
Yeah, right?
In Survivor world, like Survivor fans are the best. They have studied this game. They've watched my seasons.
And you're a fan favorite.
Yeah, like they do. They're so nice, and they have probably watched my seasons way more times than I have.
Yeah.
They know more about me than I know about myself.
Analyze everything.
And they're just the best.
Yeah.
So I know that like if I go to a Survivor party, it is like nonstop talking to fans, and it can be tiring. So I guess if Aaron Rodgers is dealing with that every single day of his life, then it's whatever. But I don't know. For me in like the Survivor world, I always just try to, even if I'm super tired, I'm always so grateful because that's the only reason that, I even got to where I'm at.
Right, because all the fans.
Yeah.
Well, and I think to your point that it hurt your feelings because you were even reluctant to do it, and then you're just kind of like, what happened here? But so when you say hi to someone, you probably make their day, right? In the converse too, you don't ruin their night because Andrea didn't even look at me or whatever. So the thing is, obviously you're tired and you got a lot of people, but you're thinking about others. And maybe Rodgers, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but it seems he wasn't really doing it that time. He was focused on the Derby or something. I don't know.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing that?
I don't know.
It's actually kind of iconic.
It does.
When you think about it, you're like, oh my God.
Now that like we know more about Rodgers, it's kind of like, yeah. And I think you're probably like, it wasn't me. Like that's Rodgers, I think. So,
yeah.
And we may still love Aaron Rodgers as the Packers quarterback, but that's a little.
Not going to ask for a pick?
No,
That's for sure.
I don't want to get shot down. I don't want my feelings, but I'm not even going to ask. So. I don't know how many things I should ask you because some of these, but some of the stories I've just heard from different interviews that you've had, but I know, and it's up to you if you want to talk about this one, but I also know that basically Shaquille O'Neal one time asked you to go clubbing with him, right?
Yeah, and that's fun. I love Shaq.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him a few times. He is a big teddy bear. He's so tall.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, I came up to like his waist. But yeah, when I interviewed him the first time, after the interview, it was me and then this co-host, Mako, and he leaned over and he's like, "You guys want to come out clubbing after this?" And I considered it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I don't need to go to a club with Shaq.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I think there's some sort of expectation. But then I interviewed him again over Zoom because it was during COVID, and he remembered me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
and I never expect someone to because they do so many interviews. Right. But he remembered me, and I was surprised. I even said in the interview, "I can't believe you would even remember me." He's like, "Yeah, He's like, we talked about the farm." He's like, and he said, "I want to go riding horses on the farm." He's like, "I want to come to the farm and go riding horses." I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
And then he told me a story about, which doesn't make sense to me, but this is what he said. He said he used to have a horse, but it was too big. I'm like, that doesn't check out. He said it was too big. Maybe he misspoke.
Yeah, maybe he meant that he was too big. Maybe
no, he said the horse. He's like, the horse was too big.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not possible.
No.
Because Shaq should be riding a Clydesdale.
Right. That's what I picture, a Clydesdale, and that would be great for Shaq. Unless he was saying like maybe he had a hard time getting him. I don't know.
I don't know. But he says he loves horses, and he wanted to come out to the farm in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so the Shaq thing was cool. I think I would be starstruck if I had to, like, Robert De Niro seemed like would be a big deal. Or I know you met Leonardo DiCaprio, right? I mean, those are like the big names.
Yeah, I would say Robert De Niro was I was very starstruck. And it's not so much you're starstruck, but you also just don't want to ask a stupid question. Right. You just really don't want to ask a stupid question. And you have you know who you're interviewing or you could potentially be interviewing for weeks and weeks because that was at the SAG Awards. So okay, if you're given a list, there's hundreds of actors that could potentially win. But you think about, okay, if Robert De Niro comes up or Brad Pitt or if this show wins or if that movie wins, and then all of a sudden it's time to interview them and you go, what? Why didn't I think of, like you can't think of anything. Because what do you ask Robert De Niro? Yeah. And so, I can't remember exactly what I asked, but I just remember it was fine, but Robert De Niro is actually really low key.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes that's how actors are and it's very shocking for people, but he's kind of just like a very low key interview and person.
Yeah.
When it comes to talking about his work, whereas you expect them to be some character, but they're actually kind of just low key. He was very nice.
That's a good point, right? Yeah. Because we see them one way on screen, but in person they may not be anything like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some are, some aren't. So.
But the one that really got me was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
I mean, there's a picture of my co-host and I just swooning over him. May as well have been drooling. Like we both. Yeah. Like my co-host Jeremy and I were he just had something about him where you just like melt by him. Like that was the one interview where I felt like I was really stuttering.
Well, he's a pretty good looking dude and he has had a tremendous amount of success.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been like an A-list forever. So it's kind of, there's the level and then there's like the next level and he's up there somewhere.
Yeah, and then J-Lo, that was one. And I'm not somebody, I don't really like to be the reporter that's screaming like after people, but certain situations I would have to do that. And that was my least favorite
Just to get
part.
the tension because everybody else
because it's actually so intense. Some of these premieres, with all of these things, it always looks better on social media than it actually is.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, even like the biggest celebrities I interviewed, you'd be at a carpet and you'd be in a row of reporters and they're going to be showing up at any point and they might stop by you, but they might not. And if they don't stop by you or if you don't get them, then your executive producer is like really upset.
Right, what'd you do?
And then it was a waste. Yeah. And then, my job at People was always kind of hanging in the balance. Sure. They would kind of sign me every 6 months. So it was never this like secure thing. Right. And so I need to get these interviews. And sometimes they would walk in, they do 2 interviews, the people next to me, and then they just walk into the movie premiere. So I remember, Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, they like just passed me by. Or I think I asked one question and they gave me like one word. And I'm like, I can't use that.
Yeah.
But J-Lo, it was at some fashion awards and everyone's waiting for J-Lo. And I'm like, the odds of me getting her. And I'm behind Entertainment Tonight, all these bigger ones. But she walks in and it just so happened they already had somebody they were talking to. Because you ever see that where there's sometimes people go viral because they'll like dump the person that they're talking to try to get to a bigger star and they've gone viral and it's a bad look. But you're trying to get the star that is there. I happen to be free, so I'm just like J-Lo. And it's like so opposite of my personality.
It was your job. You had to
and she stopped and I got a couple questions in and
when she stopped, did you think in your head like, is this happening? Or just like you're in the zone at that point?
Well, yeah, I'm like, I can't believe she stopped for me and none of these other people and everyone's screaming. So I asked her a question, a couple other people shoved their microphones in her face and, she probably answered 2 questions, but it felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, she's talking, we got her. But what's so hard about entertainment reporting is you always want to get the big scoop.
Right.
And so you're always like toying with, do I ask them a very respectful question about their project, which they'll like, or do I throw in like a little bit of a curveball to try to get the big scoop because no one cares really about like maybe, but not really, not like, what does this project mean to you? They care about, so you and your ex were spotted at the, so you always try to come up with creative ways to ask the juicy questions, but I don't miss that. that was hard. It was kind of went against the nature of who I am.
It seems pretty high pressure. And then, like you said, you are torn between doing something that they want you to versus like trying to get some scoop that might upset them, right? And then also in the Midwest, we generally like don't do, we're trying to be like low key about stuff.
Like imagine asking someone questions and you can tell they don't like this.
Yeah.
But your producer is saying, keep asking, keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I've had several times on live internets, where somebody snapped at me because I just went too far. But if I don't go far enough, then my producer goes, well, they might be going in a different direction for this role. So it was a lot of pressure. I don't miss that.
You're 3 months into the 6 months. Remember that.
Yeah,
we're getting real close, right?
Not even kidding. Yeah, like it was wild. But I think after having that job, and of course, it's like I'm doing celebrity news. I wasn't, saving lives, but it felt intense for what it was. But
sounds intense.
I think doing that job, I think any other job that I'll have in media, it's just never going to be as intense. So it's really nice to, sometimes I think now if I do a job and if someone else is like thinking it's super hard or maybe a boss isn't the best, I just will always remember that job. Like nothing can be as bad as you're live on TV, someone's in your ear saying basically like, what are you doing? Like we're going to like basically threatening to replace you.
Right. That's wild.
I hope she's not watching.
Yeah. Nah, she's probably not watching this. No. This is Midwest Focus.
No, I don't think she would. If she's listening this deep.
Yeah, then there's something.
But to be fair, this producer really like shaped me. She made me tough.
Yeah.
She made me very tough.
Well, it probably has helped you be authentic now because you've been to that high pressure, like the highest of the high. And then like you were just saying, when you're you're doing a podcast or you're like this, or, you're doing your own where you're interviewing, you're like, this is really a walk in the park. So you can just be authentic and be in the moment because you've been to that high pressure point.
It's just so nice not having to try to get the scoop, like try to ask, maybe like if I was started asking you about like your exes or something you don't want to talk about.
Like, no, and you just keep pushing.
Yeah, just keep, like, because if you don't get it the first time, then you kind of come up with like in a creative way to get back to it. And just like, it's just push. It's just,
so the funny thing about that is because I'm a lawyer, and so like tomorrow, like we'll do depositions. And so I have to ask somebody questions. And then I have to like get information. And I'm not trying to trick them, but I'm definitely circling back and getting things. And, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about in common. And then they get to the point where I have to start asking them questions that they don't want to like give me answers on. However, I'm doing it now for 18 years. And because people recognize me, they're like more comfortable with me, which is crazy. So I will talk to people and they just will kind of tell me the truth. And it was very helpful. I think like I let people know that it's kind of cathartic to just like, that's why we're here. And typically it's not them getting in trouble. It's like their insurance company's got to be responsible.
Yeah.
So I kind of let them know, I'm not out to get you, but I have to get to the truth. But it is sometimes hard because I have had people that I've sat down and they're on the opposite end and I'm going to depose them. And they're like, I see you on TV. I love your, they're saying stuff like that. And then I'm like, well, thank you. But, I have a job. So, but I try to be really respectful and then not tricky. But I know you're talking, not to the level. I don't have someone in my ear like, you got to get the scoop. You got to figure out this juicy gossip.
Similar vibes, though.
Yes.
With trying to get something and knowing a way to do that, make them comfortable. Yes. And then,
And for you to be able to, and you probably got to this point too where you can kind of ask hard questions, but you do it in a way that's maybe comfortable to them. I mean, there's some things people just don't want to ever talk about, but like that's where you get really good is where you can ask people stuff and they'll give you information, even though it's kind of a touchy subject.
No,
but it's hard.
That's where, that's like kind of the survivor in me, the survivor player in me too. Like some of it is a little bit like, it's not that it's just I know how to make someone feel comfortable and get to that. It was like almost became a game of, okay, if I take it usually what I can do is if I'm relatable.
Yep.
If it's like, oh yeah, that happened to me, and you kind of just get their guard down a little bit. And also, to be fair, at People, they always try to like uplift a lot of the celebrities. They're not actually trying to make someone look too bad.
Yeah.
And so it's better if you're going to give the scoop to People magazine than maybe,
some of the other ones
Star magazine or whatever that are just,
Because you might the scoop might be just some inside information. It's not necessarily bad information, but like with Star in there, they're like looking for something that's like
you're just trying to get the story to break for you and not the next,
right.
the competition.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hurt their image. You just want to to get the first scoop of it. You know, you got to get that inside information before anybody else does.
I'm telling you, talking about it now, I don't miss it.
Yeah, you kind of like, I'm so glad I'm not there.
Well, and now when I do interviews, it's just I'm usually highlighting small businesses, different events going on in Wisconsin or Milwaukee, and when I interview people, they're so excited. A lot of times it's their first time on TV. Yeah. And so it's just so much more meaningful and I make better connections. Whereas when I interview celebrities, it's cool and flashy, but they don't remember me. They're not, it's just a flash in the pan. But it is, I think, very fulfilling to then interview people in Wisconsin, and it's just a lot more wholesome.
Well, and I think it's kind of fun whether they know it or not. But so say you're like a small business owner and you're on the cabin, or you're just a local person from Wisconsin, and the same person that interviewed J-Lo is interviewing them. It's kind of cool. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
That is wild.
No, when you put it that way.
I'm not trying to give you a big head or anything.
No. It honestly, it feels like a different life. Like it wasn't something, like celebrity culture wasn't really something I was super into growing up. And then now I'm more in tune, and I have so many friends in the business, so it's different. But I just kind of stumbled into it. It was just at a time, I honestly stumbled into it. It was at a time in my life where I was in New York. I was kind of deciding, do I want to stay in New York? I'm doing a little more TV hosting than acting. And I just had all these auditions, and some were sports and some were for celebrity shows. And I honestly think it could have went either way.
Sure.
And I just happened to book this audition that I went full-blown celebrity.
Right. But that's how life is. You have opportunities, you take it. I mean, look at if you hadn't gone out and got on the horseback and the bikini and did all that stuff, and then, everything leads there.
I know.
But at some point, then you're in New York and you're kind of like, time to go back to the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably obvious to some of us, but I've been to, and this, I don't want to like hurt myself, but I think I've been to New York twice in my life, so that people are like, this guy, does he ever leave Wisconsin to the Midwest? It's like, not a whole lot. I mean, I do more now, but not, especially before I was 18, I maybe left once. It's wild. So.
Only left Wisconsin once?
Yeah. So,
but there's, I know Wisconsin's now my brand, but there's a lot to do in Wisconsin.
There is. I still love Wisconsin, and I'm definitely not talking down on it, because I've talked to the people about, I don't have to tell you because you know Wisconsin very well, but there's just so many different areas to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And even, this is embarrassing, but I think it was like within the last 5 years, I hadn't really been to the Driftless, because I grew up in Green Bay. I was born in Eau Claire, and then, I went to Point and was in Sheboygan for a while, but then I ended up for work like in the Driftless, and I was like, I was amazed just at that area.
No, it's beautiful. I feel like I'm exploring Wisconsin for the first time because even though I grew up here, we didn't really travel too much in the state. We would travel to county fairs, state fair, and horse shows. But the camping we would all do just on our farm.
Sure.
And so now as an adult that left and came back, I too am like, the Driftless, okay, like it's beautiful, and then learning about just like all the different areas. It's kind of cool to explore it, honestly, some of these parts for the first time.
Well, and you're getting a lot more detail too when you're interviewing people and you're there. I'm assuming you go to areas and you're there for a day or two or more.
Yeah.
You get to actually get immersed in the little businesses, and which is really cool. That's part of what I like being a lawyer. I travel all over the Midwest, but going to these towns that I would never be in, I'm like, this place is pretty cool. I was just in this little town in Iowa last week, and I'm like, wow, like this is a part of Iowa that I'd never been in. And it's not like the rest of Iowa. It was like a little bit more hilly and stuff. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. So, but if I didn't have my job, I would never have been there. And that's kind of with you, you're getting, the basics of Wisconsin, but now you're getting pulled in these cool areas and putting spotlights on small businesses and people in Wisconsin, which I love Wisconsin. Obviously you do too. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, but it seems like it's just so self-evident probably, is the difference like when you're in New York and you're thinking about the difference between New York and Random Lake, right? Or just Wisconsin in general, the Midwest in general.
Well, I always, it's always so funny, like in New York. So I would say in Wisconsin, everyone's so nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know this. But in Wisconsin, if you see someone on the sidewalk, usually you wave at them or smile.
Right.
But if you do that in New York, they think you're crazy. You don't wave or smile at people on the street.
Yeah.
And so when I first moved to New York, I just was so friendly, and I was just trying to like make friends everywhere I went.
Yep.
And then I learned pretty quickly that that's not really what you do. In New York, you're you're going. You're head down, maybe AirPods in, you're on the train. So I kind of learned, oh yeah, New Yorkers aren't exactly like the Wisconsin people. They're great, you know, for what it is.
It's just a different culture.
It's just a very different culture, yeah.
I know, and here, like, you're at the Quick Trip and you're holding the door and you don't know if you should hold it for like the person way, you know, that's different. It's not even a thought of like, I'm just going to shut the door. It's like, oh, how many people should I hold this for? And there's somebody across the parking lot, like, oh, hold on, I got you too, right?
Yeah.
And people don't think it's weird. They're just like, oh, that's, you know, you kind of should do that.
If I need anything and I put it, sometimes I'll maybe use my Instagram story too much.
Yeah.
But if I need something, I'll just go, anyone have a bike I could borrow for this race? And then all of a sudden I'll have like
Boom, boom, boom.
15 DMs like, I'll bring the bikes to you. Like, it's crazy. But then it makes you a nicer person. Like when people are nice for no reason, because I'm always wondering, wait, especially working in celebrity news and stuff, I'm like, what's the agenda?
Yeah, what do you want?
Well, you want something, but then you just find out, oh, they actually they want to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really refreshing to have that. And I had to, because I grew up in Green Bay and I've gone back and just been in there and visited some of my old friends, and it's like, oh yeah, they're just like, they know me when I was just a guy, and just how nice, and they don't want nothing in return, right? And so that's generally how people are in the Midwest, and it's really refreshing because.
But sometimes people not from the Midwest, they don't understand it. No. They don't trust it.
Yeah. Why are you doing this? Like, what am I gonna owe you?
It makes them angry.
Nothing, man. Are you gonna hold this over my head? Not gonna do that, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it's just the way that, you know, we've done things, which is cool. What I have, because, you know, the Midwest Legends podcast, we like to find out about Midwest legends like yourself and kind of hear your stories, which we have. But I always ask people, like, who is a Midwest legend to you?
My dad.
All right.
Royal Boehlke. So, do you know any other Royals?
I do not.
I know, not
Besides
a lot of
the baseball team.
Yeah, not a lot of Royals. So, my dad, Royal. I mean, he's a farmer.
Yeah.
He's a full-time farmer, part-time comedian. He does stand-up comedy.
Interesting mix.
Mm-hmm. He does stand-up comedy, just, you know, to different farmers groups and
awesome.
and charities and stuff. But a couple of things that he's done in his life that are really legendary. He's always a prankster, right? There's this legend about our road that's right by us called J Road.
Okay.
There's the J Road legend of
right.
like a creature that lives there or a bloody stop sign. And my dad, and this was kind of when I was young, so I've just heard the stories,
Sure.
but we had these big gorilla costumes, and my dad would dress up as a gorilla, trying to look kind of like Bigfoot. And when there was this festival called Botonville Rain Days, and there'd be a lot of people on those roads, he would like hide in the swamp. It's like this road that goes through the woods, right? And like a swamp. He would hide in the swamp, and when he could see headlights, he'd dart across the road just so he could try to start a rumor that somebody saw Bigfoot or saw a creature.
Yeah.
And so that was like one of his favorite pastimes.
That's actually pretty awesome. I mean, can you imagine? He like carried that legend. There's probably people that never realized it was him or a person, right?
Yeah, they probably thought they saw a Bigfoot, a monster, something, a huge animal, you know? So he would do that. And then he also, one time at the Packer game, he went to the Packer game, you know how everyone dresses up and stuff, but he wore a huge deer mount. And those things are heavy.
Yeah.
So it was a helmet, and then he made this contraption. A helmet, on top of the helmet was a deer head, full deer mount. And then on top of that deer mount was a huge flag that went up all the way, like so high. This thing was like ginormous.
Yeah.
And he got a lot of press for it. And then him and his friends, I just found this out recently. I didn't know that they actually snuck into the Packer game. They snuck in because back in the day, the
totally
security, they could sneak in. You could sneak into the Packer game.
You weren't using phones and all this stuff to get through.
Oh, yeah. So he snuck his friends into the Packer game. He had this huge getup. I'll have to find pictures and send it to you or something. But yeah, and he made a couple like newspapers and the Packer Fan Hall of Fame book or something. But he's just been like a prankster our entire lives. He has like, when he was in high school, he would let pigeons go and birds, like in the high school.
Like you just bring it in and then let it go.
Yeah, he loves catching birds. Yeah, he would let birds go in the gymnasium during games.
Did I hear somewhere that you had peacocks on your farm too?
We have peacocks, yeah.
Pretty cool.
And my dad's the reason that I know how to juggle, that I can do a peacock sound. Like a lot of the like tricks and stuff I have are all from my dad.
You know what's really impressive about that? So he's a full-time farmer, which is like a job and a half, if not two, because it's never ending. And yet he's finding time to do this stuff, which is amazing in itself.
He's the youngest kid of 7. Yeah. I think
Did he grow up on a farm too? Mm-hmm. Just,
yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you get up early and you're gonna there's just so much to do, and then somehow he's got the energy to go do dress up in the suit, like do this thing at the Packer game. It's pretty cool, and then do stand-up comedy, which I don't know, and I don't know all the stand-up comedians' backgrounds, but I'm not sure that I've heard of one that was also a full-time farmer, and then his side gig was like doing some stand-up comedy.
Yeah. I mean, he kills when he does like farm groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do, have you ever done stand-up?
I have not.
So I always wanted to do it just to do it. And so I did open for my dad. So a little bit of a Nepo baby. But I did like a 5-minute set like before my dad did it. And it was at this like it was like an annual farmers meeting, this like farm group that meets every year to like do, it's like an actual like yay, nay, like voting in the treasurer and stuff.
Yeah.
They hired him and I opened for him. And like my first time ever doing stand-up, it was okay. Like there were some laughs.
Sure.
And then some of it bombed, but it was like a good experience. I just wanted the experience. And then my dad goes up and just kills like everybody,
That's awesome.
like he just, because everyone, that audience was like an older
He knew his audience really well.
Of farmers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're going to like me as much, but for my first experience doing stand-up, it felt nice to do that with my dad.
Well, and I think it takes a lot to get up there and just do stand-up because you're vulnerable to no matter where you are, whether it's a bunch of farmers or it's, at some comedy club, you're up in front of people and you're going to get hopefully some laughs. And at least you got some laughs. You don't get booed off the stage.
It's like, I think stand-up comedy is like the scariest thing in the world.
Well, until like, I haven't really thought about it, but I'm like kind of picturing this now and you just going up there and especially you're the opener, right? So you got to start it.
Yeah.
So your dad, you kind of warmed everybody up and then he comes and kills it. But like,
It's so scary. I want to keep doing it just to because I feel like in my life, I've been doing TV hosting for so long that nothing really makes me feel that scared feeling, but thinking of doing stand-up comedy makes me feel scared again.
It's fun to do that as long as it doesn't get too stressful. I mean, I'm kind of person that likes to push myself too. And so there's things like on the kind of lawyer trying case of being in court thing is that for me. And sometimes I'm thinking, like, do I really want to do this? Because I've got all these other things going on, but there's that part too where you push yourself. So it's something where if you can fit it in and it doesn't become too overwhelming, you should do it.
That's true. You don't want it to be if it's too stressful at some point, you're like, why am I doing this to myself?
But usually I get stressed about, because there's a lot of pressure and you're going to be on. And then it's being on and having to be so prepared and so focused and so just ready to go and rolling with the punches and everything. And then you get done and you're like, that's why you do it. And so when you do your next stand-up, you're just, and you get better every time generally. I mean, hopefully most people, otherwise you might have to do a different thing.
Yeah, well, my thing is I'm not pursuing it. I don't think I'm...
next time maybe half will be whatever.
Yeah.
Or just do a different group. I think
I just like doing things that really scare me.
Well, and comedy is cool too because it's scary, right? And you're making yourself vulnerable, but you're also making people laugh. So you're doing something that's kind of fun. I mean, hopefully you get some laughs, but I'm sure you will. Right? Your dad's a comedian. You got it. And, I mean, again, look at the pressure situations you've been under.
Yeah.
So let me know when you do the next one and I'll be there. I'll make sure I start if no one's laughing, I will be laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's more I think it's something that, because it's not something I'm pursuing, it always will help. I MC a lot.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have go-to little ways that you can make people laugh. But I think the feeling of knowing, even if I bomb, the world keeps spinning.
Right.
And that can be applied to a lot of different things that you do in life.
Point.
It's sometimes fear will hold me back from things. And even things so silly, maybe you've experienced it, I don't know, with social media or should I post that? It's so cringe, or should I do that? And I think putting yourself in situations where you go, you know what? Why don't I just exposure therapy my way into it? Because what's the worst that's going to happen?
Right.
No one cares,
Right.
The world keeps spinning. Everything's fine.
And then sometimes it works out and you're like, wow. And if you hadn't done that, then you wouldn't know. But and if something goes wrong, it goes wrong and you just go on to the next thing and you, I always tell, for us, because lawyering can be kind of a competitive thing.
Well, yeah, your job is a little more
You lick your wounds and you go on to the next
Your
one.
job is a little more serious than me just being like, let me face my fears.
Well, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons, because I do like to push myself. That's what lawyering has helped out a lot. But I think it applies to all different things. It's just like, be willing to face your fears, but just know that you may not have success, but not on everything you do. But you're gonna live. You're gonna go on to the next thing. What is, like, if you think of just like the cliche when you're Midwest story, like that you have when it comes, first thing that comes to mind for you?
I would say, the fact that I grew up showing pigs and steers at the county fair, and I was like an expert pig showmanship person. Like I was like unbeatable. Like I was, do you ever see those videos of the pig, that people that are showing pigs?
Yes, I've seen those.
Yeah, like I was so intense. But there was one time at the county fair and I was just like a little girl and the pigs were my best friends. And I remember I was like playing with them and then I fell asleep laying across to the pigs. And it was like this whole spectacle because my mom and all of the people that were walking through the barn saw me and like took a picture.
Yeah.
And I was just fully sleeping across 2 pigs. And I was probably like 9 or something. But yeah, that was like my whole childhood. It was like raising animals and showing them at the fair.
And then so you went to several county fairs doing that?
We would go to the Ozaki County Fair, and then when you get old enough, then you go to the state fair. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And so then you would go to the actual state fair.
Yeah, and then show there. But we'd always get like, killed at state fair. Like we would never do well.
It's very, very competitive.
like Ozaki County Fair, we'd be like second in our class, and then like state fair, you're always last.
Well, yeah, you're going. You went there and you tried it. So.
Yeah.
How about this? So, favorite Midwest dive bar?
Ooh, favorite Midwest dive bar. I would say, okay, have you ever been to Tom's Burn Down Cafe?
I have not. Where is that?
Tom's Burn Down Cafe is on La Pointe.
Yeah.
So that's on Madeline Island.
Okay.
And so Madeline Island is just up at the tip, and you actually have to take a ferry across.
Yes.
Or in the winter, they have their ice trail, and you can actually drive across. But I was over there filming for Discover Wisconsin, and it's just this like eclectic bar that's kind of built on, I think, like the top of cars.
Yeah.
But it's like a really funky bar if you're ever on La Pointe. That was a cool one. And then a favorite in Milwaukee, Wolski's for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, Wolski's is like it's
legendary.
It's legendary.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Stickers everywhere.
I closed Wolski's. I mean, that one's like really close to where I live. And so that one's always a fun one.
That bar is a cool bar because it can get really packed, but can also have that different kind of like low key vibe depending on the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think the bar you're talking about, La Pointe, I believe my dad went there. I have not been there, but I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
I have a cabin up in Douglas County. And then we have office up there, so I'm up there quite a bit in the summer. So maybe just like go a little bit further north and get up to Madeline Island area.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Plywood Palace?
I have not, and as Jared from Wisco Dive Bar Reviews, he calls it the Vatican for dive bars.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned about a lot of the dive bars from Jared, who I know has been on your podcast. But he is like the king of dive bars and always tells us about like new ones. And
all right, last question. I think I'll wrap it up with this: what's your favorite Midwest food? Like, what's just the go-to Midwest?
Okay, so it's tough for me because I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay.
But I bring my Lactaid. And I'm not sponsored by Lactaid, but if you want to get a sponsorship for me.
Right now, we're signed up.
For this. Yeah, but I think my favorite, I was gonna say cheese curds, but actually brats.
Okay.
I love brats.
Yeah, brats are good.
I love Johnsonville brats. I think brats are my favorite.
When you grew up on the farm, what was the kind of staple meal for you guys? Was it just like meat and potatoes thing, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really was. And my mom has a huge garden.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. So like a lot of the food we eat is like from the garden, from the farm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But even like growing up, I remember a staple. This is not a Wisconsin food, but we loved fish sticks. Did you ever have them?
Oh, yeah. My dad, that's kind of how he cooked. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, I cooked for you guys. It's fish sticks.
And he was like from the box.
Yes,
Yeah. Like I'll never forget. Like we loved fish sticks, a tray of them.
Yeah. I wasn't complaining.
Would you dip them in anything?
So I don't think we had like tartar sauce because I think you would have to like either get I just remember we had like ketchup. That's all we ever did.
Oh, fish sticks with ketchup.
Yeah, well,
Interesting.
it was probably just because that's what we got. So.
Yeah, I think we did mayo, but
Yeah.
the fish sticks were so good. I mean, to this day, my favorite meal is actually fish that my mom makes.
Yeah.
Bluegill.
Okay.
Which like caught in Wisconsin, and then she'll put she like puts like a
She batters
cracker. Yeah, like batters it. There's like a cracker.
Wow.
Kind of like crust, and like fries it. So good.
That's
Yeah, so that's a little more elevated than the fish sticks, but
Your mom sounds like she's gonna be making some good stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, and with fresh garden, because that's the thing too. Fresh ingredients make a big difference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being on here. I appreciate it. I know you've had a long night, and I appreciate making time because you got so many different things going on.
yeah, it was nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. And so, I mean, I don't know how many different things you have going on, but maybe you can let us know if you have anything new in the works. You got the cabin pod. I think I saw that you were doing some correspondence stuff on like Cheesehead TV at one point.
Yeah.
I know you show up you're on the local channel in Milwaukee. I mean, I don't know where you're everywhere. So like,
Yeah, I do TMJ4 morning
Yes,
blends,
yep,
just like
morning blend.
kind of sporadically.
Yep.
Cheesehead TV, I was doing some interviews for them. Well, this probably is going to come out after, but yeah.
after the season's up.
Yeah, Packers season, I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. As the time,
Yesterday didn't make things
as
look good.
of the time that we are talking right now, it was right after the Micah Parsons thing. So I'm sure this is going to be like
Injury, yeah, Mike Parsons' injury.
yes. Hopefully nothing else happens.
Well, just because some people might be like, when was that? Was when he got
Oh no, yeah, the injury.
We're way past that, people.
Yeah, by the time you listen to this, who knows what's happened? But like the injury, so we're kind of not feeling too good right now as Packer fans. But then also the Cabin podcast with
Yes.
Discover Wisconsin. So interviewing a lot of like Wisconsin people, like you are.
Yeah, and you guys are doing a wonderful job, and I think that it's fun to see like this dedicated podcast that you have to Wisconsin and exploring it. So I'll keep watching it and see some new cool places and new cool people. So
Yeah.
so thanks again for coming on. Hey, wait, don't head out just yet. Do you have a story that's so Midwest it couldn't have happened anywhere else? Or do you know a Midwest legend in your own life? Give me a call at 866-MWLEGND. Your story may be featured on our future episode or on our socials. Looking forward to hearing your Midwest legend.